popular. I am based in Northwest School of Medicine in Peshawar, and with me is co-chair Chloe. Chloe, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. My name's Dr. Chloe Chia, and I'm a neurosurgical resident actually in Belfast in the UK.
Thank you. So we move on to our first talk is Dr. Ernest Barthélemy, and he's from sunny Downstate University, head of Department of Neurosurgery. He's doing a lot of work in global neurosurgery, he's a member of the Global Neurosurgery Committee as well. And also he's doing a lot of work with the Haitian neuroscientists. So please, Ernest, you're there, I hope?
I'm here. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Tariq,
great.
let me go ahead and share my screen. I presume everyone can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So I will start us off by presenting on 8 ways to improve neurosurgery research capacity in LMICs. This is one of my first forays into AI territory, and hope for this to be informative and useful. So my only disclosure here is that elements of this presentation do represent a conversation I had with ChatGPT that I vetted, critically analyzed, and modified where I felt it needed to be modified to be relevant for our purposes. And so I'll go into opportunities and risks of using AI in this way. So there's kind of a meta element of this talk in looking at AI as a potential resource for strengthening research capacity, but with some inherent risks. And then we'll look at the AI-generated suggestions for how to do this and some concluding remarks. So many of you who may be familiar with this technology are aware of its many strengths and opportunities, real-time feedback. It can be a supplement to mentorship for research. It probably won't replace a research mentor, but can certainly buttress research mentorship, can enhance research quality and efficiency, build communities of practice. It can break language and access barriers, which are a major issue and a recurrent issue in global neurosurgery. Also a tool for learning and training support, gap identification, et cetera. So many opportunities, but major risks as well. And actually what prompted me to go into these risks, which you can read, I won't read them here for you, but I noticed an increasing number of articles retracted because of AI-driven research that wasn't completely ethical or as rigorous or as it could have been to properly support research and research capacity development. So we should take caution with how we use AI when we're leaning on it for any use, and certainly with respect to research capacity development. So I asked ChatGPT, how do we improve neurosurgery research capacity in low and middle income countries? And I've eliminated a couple of the responses because I didn't find them as relevant, but these were 8 that were relevant. Develop training programs, foster research collaboration, increase funding for neurosurgery research, strengthen research infrastructure, advocate for neurosurgery as a priority, which is an important one. I think we don't often think about it in the research frame. Encouraging innovation, promoting community engagement, and creating networks for early career researchers. So we'll unpack each of these in the next few minutes. So developing training programs. And so again, we're talking about research methodology, research capacity development, not necessarily clinical skills development, although particularly in an implementation science frame, they can go hand in hand. But this is one approach, partnering with high-income country partners or international organizations to support efforts like this. And these are some of the organizations with which you may or may not be aware, based in the US, that have engaged in this kind of research capacity development. Duke has a longstanding partnership in Uganda, and that is expanding in other regions of Africa to do such work. The Barrow Neurological Institute, the Global Neurosurgery Initiative at Harvard University, led by Key Park, where I spent a couple of years, some years ago, Mission Brain, and then the American Society of Black Neurosurgeons, a more recently founded organization in the US, has a number of growing initiatives in Africa structured around this. And I lead the Global Neurosurgery Committee for that organization, so have some direct insight there. In terms of fostering research collaboration, so international partnerships can be very helpful for driving research capacity development. I think the NIHR Global Health Research Group on Acquired Brain and Spine Injuries is exemplary in this regard, partnering with a lot of LMICs to advance brain and spine trauma research. as well as other multinational research networks focused on common challenges faced by LMICs. Trauma by public health standards and epidemiology is probably the number one reason why one needs a neurosurgeon in the world, and certainly a ripe and relevant area to build such research and research initiatives. And I think the Latino TBI registry is organized around this. It partners with this Cambridge-based group and has a growing number of data and research initiatives in the region relevant to that. Now, increasing funding for neurosurgery research is a major aspect of driving capacity development. And yet this extends beyond practicing neurosurgeons, right? Except those of us who happen to be engaged with healthcare governments and governance. So I think there's a nod towards the importance of advocacy here. And there aren't too many major examples, but there are some important ones, examples where governments have influenced and strengthened research capacity by prioritizing its importance through, for instance, donation for development of the stem cell research project in Kenya relatively recently. There are private sector and NGO sources of potential funding for such research. The World Academy of Sciences has programs built around this. And then certainly philanthropy and global health initiatives, such as some of the programs that the World Bank has put in place to help support such capacity development. Strengthening research infrastructure is also critically important. This Center for Brain Research in Bangalore, India, which was inaugurated just 3 years ago, is a great example of the kind of infrastructure that needs to be put in place in order to drive forward research capacity development, and reminds us as neurosurgeons to also think broadly beyond our narrow field and think about the broader neurosciences and other research communities who we can partner with to advance research in our diseases and concerns of interest. Health data systems and building relevant databases also incredibly important. And this recently published study by several collaborating African partners, the Young African Neurosurgeons Group, the group based at Duke, they recently prepared this article looking at the various efforts to build neurotrauma registries in Africa. And so this is worth a read. This was just published in World Neurosurgery. Advocacy for neurosurgery as a priority, very important in our ministries of health. We want to raise awareness about the importance of neurosurgery, which may be neglected, despite the many epidemiologically important conditions in which we play a role as neurosurgeons. I've highlighted ILAE here because ILAE and the epilepsy community is very successful in their advocacy in the world of neurological conditions. And I think a shining example of that is how they were able to get the term epilepsy in WHO's Global Action Plan for Neurological Disorders. So it covers virtually all neurological disorders, but epilepsy is actually specifically highlighted, and that's advocacy success. And there are implementation frameworks that have come from this, and a number of research opportunities that are built out of efforts like this as well. And related global neurosurgery initiatives like our committee at WFNS and the Global Neurosurgery Initiative that I mentioned at Harvard University. Encouraging innovation in low-cost solutions. This is a great way to drive forward research in low and middle-income countries. I think what's exemplary of these sorts of technologies is the doing more with less column in World Neurosurgery. And so you'll find years of articles that have focused in on a variety of technologies and solutions for dealing with resource restriction in low resource contexts, which can be both a source of future research initiatives as well as an opportunity to publish on new innovations that may be developed in low and middle income countries. And then task shifting and task sharing, which we generally think of more so on the clinical capacity development side, also offers an opportunity for research capacity development. Promoting community engagement and collaboration, community engaged research is, I would say, somewhat foreign to neurosurgery, but there is growing interest in how we can effectively engage with our local communities of interest to drive forward research and research capacity, particularly in low resource communities. So this article was exemplary in that respect from the global surgery literature. And cross-disciplinary collaboration. I've thrown a picture here of a talk from my own institution where we partnered effectively with psychiatrists and anthropologists to drive forward relevant issues in neurosurgery. And then finally, creating networks for early career researchers. And examples of this are the Association of Future African Neurosurgeons, Intersurgeon, and of course, YNF, which I've been lucky enough to be a part of in the past. And so I know you provide some salient opportunities, such as this one today, for this kind of mentorship. Okay, so in conclusion, improving neurosurgery research capacity in LMICs is an ongoing multifaceted effort that involves training, funding, international collaboration, innovation, and community involvement. And by tackling these challenges, we can help bridge the gap in neurosurgical care, ultimately leading to better outcomes for patients worldwide. I endorse this message. Also, please check out this website at YouTube, where the webinars that our committee has produced to support research in global neurosurgery are posted. And thank you for your attention.
Thanks very much, Ernest. We'll have the discussion, question and answers later on. Chloe, you want to invite the next speaker? Thank you.
Thank you very much again,